Welcome to Gameonysus Weekly, your one-stop shop for video game news, keeping up with the biggest stories so you don't have to. I'm your host, Janet Garcia, and today we're talking about California expanding its lawsuit against Activision, MLK and Fortnite, and some Gamescom recaps. All these stories and so much more on today's episode. Let's start with California expanding its lawsuit against Activision Blizzard, which now also includes accusations of the company potentially shredding documents. For this, we go over to Megan Republishes and Stephen Totillo's reporting over at Axios, and the article reads as follows. California has expanded its anti-discrimination lawsuit against Activision Blizzard, adding temporary workers to the female full-time employees of whom it is suing on behalf. The state's Department of Fair Employment and Housing also alleges the game maker has interfered with its investigation. Why it matters. While Activision Blizzard has attempted to show over the past month that it is addressing issues raised in the suit, the DFEH is turning up the heat. Between the lines, the amended complaint was filed Monday and redefines the group it says was wronged by the gaming giant. A copy reviewed by Axios specifically mentions that California's protection against anti-harassment, equal pay, and other equal employment opportunity protections, quote, exist for employees and contingent or temporary workers. Throughout the lawsuit, the word employees has been changed to workers in reference to harassment, sex discrimination regarding pay, and other allegations. The DFEH also says Activision Blizzard has stymied its efforts through NDAs, requiring employees to speak to the company ahead of contacting the DFEH, and its involvement with Wilmer Hale, a law firm the game maker said will investigate misconduct issues. The suit claims that this directly interferes with the DFEH's ability to investigate, prosecute, and remedy workplace discrimination and harassment violations on behalf of employees and contingent or temporary workers. It alleges, in part, that documents related to investigations and complaints were shredded by human resource personnel in violation of what it asserts is the game company's legal obligation to retain them pending the investigation. A spokesperson for Activision Blizzard told Axios that the company has complied with every proper request in support of its review, even as we had been implementing reforms to ensure our workplaces are welcoming and safe for every employee. With regards to claims that we have destroyed information by shredding documents, those claims are not true. We took appropriate steps to preserve information relevant to the DFEH investigation, the spokesperson added. We have provided the DFEH with clear evidence that we do not have gender pay or promotion disparities. Our senior leadership is increasingly diverse with a growing number of women in key leadership roles across the company. The big picture. The change comes after stories revealed toxic conditions faced by Activision Blizzard contract workers. Stories shared with Axios from the ABK Workers Alliance, specifically from the Quality Assurance and Customer Service departments, paint a picture of brutal overtime paired with little pay. As a contract employee, I feel there's a lot of pressure to excel, impress, and move through the ranks as fast as you can before your contract ends, and you're forced to go 3 months without income or find another job, one worker said. I take pride in what I do, but it feels like it's never enough. We suffer from stress, another worker said. We suffer physical ailments. We are overworked and underpaid across the board. So yeah, just an increasingly wild turn of events. I mean, not only is it huge if the destruction of evidence turns out to be true, because that's like not only incredibly illegal, but also just a complete example of betrayal, probably one of the deepest possibilities of betrayal that could come out of a human resources department to actually go as far as shredding evidence. But this is also a really big deal because this is expanding the lawsuit. Again, I saw a lot of folks kind of angle this on the shredding of evidence part, and I do think that's kind of like the more immediately like egregious offense. But what's wild about them adding and expanding this lawsuit to include these temporary workers and contract workers is typically freelancers and folks in those roles are very much bottom of the barrel and are treated as such. And it's kind of one of those things where if we look at how badly the employees are treated, I can only imagine what it is if you're not a full-time employee at that company and are still working with that company. So now that they're expanding it to even more people, I imagine even more stuff's going to come up because you're already looking at a company where the workers are mistreated. That's why the investigation is going on. So now we're looking at the people who are below those people. It's going to get crazy. I think we're going to be hearing some really egregious and horrific stories coming out of all of this. But yeah, I mean, I think Axios said it best when they mentioned turning up the heat and how Activision Blizzard is sort of just like, here are some things we're doing. Here are people we fired. Here are changes we're making. But while all those things are happening, it's like, okay, but this is still like very much an investigation. This is still a lawsuit. This is more than just trying to regain, good faith from the public and good faith from your employees, like you have real stuff that you're about to deal with, and it's about to hit the fan really, really hard. And speaking of things hitting the fan, the McCree name change is about to be official in Overwatch. The official Overwatch account on Twitter tweeted out this statement: "We built the Overwatch universe around the idea that inclusivity, equity, and hope are the building blocks for a better future. They are central to the game and to the Overwatch team. As we continue to discuss how we best live up to our values and to demonstrate our commitment to creating a game world that reflects them, we believe it's necessary to change the name of the hero currently known as McCree to something that better represents what Overwatch stands for. We realize that any change to such a well-loved and central hero in the game's fiction will take time to roll out, and we'll share updates as this work progresses. In the near term, we had planned to kick off a narrative arc in September supported with new story and game content, of which McCree was a key part. Since we want to integrate this change into that story arc, we will be delaying the new arc until later this year and instead launch a new FFA map this September. Going forward, in-game characters will no longer be named after real employees, and we'll be more thoughtful and discerning about adding real-world references in future Overwatch content. This will help reinforce that we're building a fictional universe that is unmistakably different than the real world and better illustrates that the creation of Overwatch is truly a team effort. Work on these updates is underway, and they are just a part of our ongoing commitment to honest reflection and making whatever changes are necessary to build a future worth fighting for. We know that actions speak louder than words, and we hope to show you our commitment to making Overwatch a better experience in-game and continue to make our team the best it can be." Again, this is a small thing. It is not, the deep systemic change that's needed, but it is something that I think is an important change in the sense of moving forward with not sort of putting these different developers on a pedestal by immortalizing them in your games. I think we've already seen so many examples of that going wrong, and I am looking forward to like an industry that doesn't continually do that. And again, this is another example of the sort of additional sociological wrappings around these studios directly impacting the games in ways that the players can see, even if it's not, even if they're not trying to see it, right? We're all going to see this name change. We're going to see these other things happen. It even has like a delay of content attached to it as well. And again, we'll see how these things continue to play out. Speaking of things playing out, we finally have an update on IGN republishing their Palestinian aid post with some edits. And for this, I'm reading from GameIndustry.biz, which has a really thorough summary of everything. It reads, 3 months after IGN took down its How to Help Palestine post of charity links, the site has republished it with a number of edits and a note about new editorial policies. The post, now headlined, A Resolution and New IGN Policies, omits changes phrases like, Palestinian civilians are currently suffering due to Israeli forces in favor of saying civilians are currently suffering. A line about escalations and conflict resulting in, quote, a catastrophic loss of Palestinian lives has also been amended to read a tragic loss of Palestinian lives. This How to Help article, originally posted on May 14th, was taken down shortly thereafter due to controversial interpretations of the post's intentions and framings, both internally among the IGN staff and externally. A note on the new post reads, an IGN employee council, with the advice of a third-party ombudsman and leadership, are in agreement that the post required adjustments to be more culturally conscientious of our staff and our audience's potential reading. We regret the error in publishing without those adjustments and recognize that our process failed us. We are also in agreement that instead of taking down the post, we should have updated the post. In connections with the post, IGN also posted newly adopted policies on corrections, updates, and takedowns of content. The site said it now does not unpublish content except in very rare cases, preferring to use updates and editor's notes instead to correct the record on mistake. Such notes will need to be approved by the editor-in-chief. And for this, I also want to pull in a statement tweeted out by Rebecca Valentine, IGN's reporter, which says, before you share your hot take on how long this took, please reread the content of both this, the editorial autonomy statement, and the policies, and consider the enormous work many people did and fought for to get this reinstated. So yeah, I definitely think it's been a huge effort on the employees' part of, writing the open letter and obviously pushing for this change, and then the inclusion of the council, just again from the outside looking in of the information that we do know. But I will say it did take a long time, and I don't think that's the fault of the people. I think it's the fault of the lack of urgency that leadership moves with when it is decided that something needs to be done with care and thought, while the post removal was pretty much immediate. That's sort of a little bit of my sticking point in terms of this issue, but I do think this was a win. Employees seem excited about it. It was on the list of employee demands in the open letter. of which most of those demands do seem to have been met. The demands being the piece being republished, that was done, a management recognition of IGN's editorial authority and autonomy, that's been listed in the updated posts. The only things that weren't really ever given was full transparency on the reasoning and process behind the post removal. That was very much not transparent, though reasons were given. And also that the management body responsible for the decision accept the responsibility publicly. That never occurred behind the scenes. Per Schneider did take ownership for it, though he also said that it was a mistake for the post ever to get published to begin with. So it, you know, you can interpret that as you will. And that was based on Patrick Klepek's earlier reporting with Waypoint Vice. So that's just a little bit of what is hopefully the end of this story. I mean, I think at least certainly for this article and this piece, I think this is the conclusion of that. And hopefully moving forward, that autonomy really is respected the way that it's decreed to have been. But again, it's one of those things where we don't really know if this is upheld unless like it's ever not upheld. So hopefully that all stays the same, and you know, that this is a win that can continue to also inspire future change if change ever feels needed from the staff. Hopefully they can look towards, hopefully this does feel like a win and they can look at this as a win and continue to fight for being industry standard, not just in reporting, content, and criticism in terms of at least popularity, but also in terms of, you know, being a good place for workers to work and kind of leading the forefront on that end. You know, we're definitely seeing a lot of that unity come across in game development, and seeing that kind of stuff come from the media side of things would be a great next step for moving the industry forward. And when it comes to moving the industry forward, you have to ask yourself how your work should or maybe should not play a role in activism. And that brings us to our story of MLK in Fortnite. And no, this is not a character skin situation. Instead, it comes over from the PlayStation blog, which reads, celebrating MLK, Time Studios presents March Through Time in Fortnite. And that's Time Studios as in like Time Magazine. Here are the details. Time Studios presents March Through Time, an all-new experience where we celebrate the life and legacy of Nobel Prize Peace recipient Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Developed by members of the Fortnite creative community, this immersive journey allows players to witness Dr. Martin Luther King's full I Have a Dream speech. March Through Time will teleport players nearly 60 years in the past to a reimagined Washington, D.C. called DC 63, developed by members of the Fortnite creative community. This full immersive experience will allow players to witness the civil rights teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King. Players will travel to the Lincoln Memorial and the United States National Mall, where Dr. King made his iconic I Have a Dream speech. The experience will also feature museum-inspired points of interest and quests you can complete with other players. These quests should bring an important reminder that relates to Dr. King's speech. We move forward when we work together. Completing the Dr. King and Civil Rights Movement challenges will unlock a DC 63 spray for your locker. Inspired by the work of Time and their partners, March Through Time would not be possible without the contributions of American Family Insurance, the DuSable Museum of African American History, and the estate of Martin Luther King Jr. For further in-depth reading and to educate yourself, family, or friends about the historic struggle for civil rights, please visit Time's The March website. We hope the March Through Time experience inspires the community to promote mutual respect and empathy towards all people, no matter their race, religion, or orientation. So my gut reaction at seeing this was, oh, this is weird and a little bit uncomfortable. And then looking at it more, it's like, okay, well, maybe this isn't so bad, but it's, for me, where I kind of land on it, and there's a lot of like think pieces out there, so I definitely encourage y'all to just go and like see what people are saying and what kind of criticism has arisen from this, both for and against. But for me, ultimately, I feel like it's part of the commercialization of MLK, which we've seen time and time again, from using his speech in like a car insurance, or not a car insurance commercial, but in a commercial for selling a truck that was like a Super Bowl ad a few years ago. And also, I just think it leans into a lot of the issues with how American history is taught, where it is very much, you get a few of these little points and that's all it's ever talked about, and it's very surface level. Now, I'm not looking for like, you know, a deep historical examination necessarily from Fortnite. Like, I get that that's maybe not the place to do that, but then I think if you pull on that thread further, maybe this isn't the place for any of that kind of stuff. And, you know, ultimately it is a commercialized thing. Fortnite is looking to, even if they're trying to do this from like the goodness of their heart, or they feel like it's gonna have a positive impact, it ultimately is about getting people to pay attention to their game and inherently make money off of their game. So I do think that part's a little bit uncomfortable. But yeah, that's kind of where I land on it. So I feel weird about it, you know. I think it's worth at least doing some additional reflecting on. And shifting over to the Xbox side of things, xCloud is coming to consoles. This comes over from The Verge, which reads, Microsoft is bringing its Xbox Cloud Gaming, xCloud, service to Xbox One and Series S/X consoles this holiday. The integration of xCloud will let Xbox owners simply click play on an Xbox Game Pass game and stream it immediately, allowing players to try games before they commit to the often hours-long process of downloading big titles. More than 100 Xbox Game Pass titles will be available as part of this initial xCloud integration, and Xbox players will be able to try games as they wait for them to fully download. This xCloud integration also lets players jump into multiplayer games as soon as friends send an invite, avoiding having to wait for the install to complete. Microsoft will update its Xbox dashboard on One and Series S/X consoles to include a cloud icon to show which games can be instantly streamed. Much like the rest of Xbox Cloud Gaming, the streams will support up to 1080p and 60 FPS, so it won't be a replacement for those 4K TVs just yet. Microsoft is very much marketing this as a try-before-you-download service. As this is also arriving on Xbox One, it does mean that Series S/X exclusive games like Flight Simulator and The Medium will also be available on older Xbox One consoles soon. Microsoft isn't committing to a date for Flight Simulator on xCloud just yet, saying it's coming in the future. This new xCloud integration will be available for Xbox insiders this fall ahead of the broader release, and Microsoft plans to announce testing details soon. So yeah, I think this is awesome and a really smart rollout for xCloud and getting people that maybe haven't tried xCloud yet to give it a go. I think it's an easy way to sort of onboard people, and it gives them an interesting angle. It's not just about like, oh, this is going to be the way you should play your games. They're sort of giving you this try before you download type angle to sort of entice people that might be hesitant otherwise. And I'm definitely someone that will go onto Game Pass when I'm like, I'm not sure what I want to play or I want to try something new. I'll scroll through the big list. I'll end up downloading a bunch of stuff. Things will be waiting in the queue, and I sort of like start my process from there. And sometimes that causes me to get to play less games in that evening because maybe a game that I wanted didn't end up downloading, or ultimately, you know, I don't end up keeping all of those games because if I'm not interested in it, I just end up deleting it. So this sort of saves that step. You know, I talked about the story during KFGD, Kind of Funny Games Daily, because I hosted one of the days this week, and this story came up, and I mentioned this is going to revolutionize the way that I don't play games, or the way that I like avoid having to finish games, or the way that I skim through games. And while, you know, that is funny, and it doesn't end up actually moving the needle in terms of, you know, me necessarily being a fan of every single game I download, but it sort of lets me try out more stuff, and it adds an additional incentive to Game Pass, which is already such a great and appealing service. So this is really cool. I'm glad to see this roll out, and I'm definitely someone that, as much as I'm open-minded to, you know, gaming on my phone and doing the xCloud stuff, I haven't tried it yet. So this is a great way for me to like be kind of guaranteed to try it, because if I have the option to stream it, I'm definitely going to click and see. And, you know, hey, if it sucks and I don't want to use it at all, if it's not even worth testing out for like the try before you download thing, then I just won't use it. But it'll be like, for me and probably a lot of people, this might be your first time using xCloud. So I do think it's a big thing for Microsoft to have this on their consoles. And now let's do some Gamescom recaps, starting with the Xbox Gamescom Showcase. For this, we're pulling from Fanbyte, which again has a fantastic roundup. Here's the full roundup, starting with a new Dying Light 2 trailer that focuses on narrative and characters with some action parkour shots mixed in. And again, a reminder that that game launches on December 7th. The head of Microsoft Flight Simulator sat down to talk about the game and mentioned that it will now be including Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Indie titles under the Humble Games banner: Archvale, Next Space Rebels, Midnight Fight Express, Dodgeball Academia, Bushiden, Flynn, Son of Crimson, Unpacking, Signalis, Unsighted, Chinatown Detective Agency are all in a sizzle reel confirming they're on Game Pass day one. Into the Pit, a roguelite first-person shooter, gets a trailer. It is also launching day one on Game Pass, which is October 19th. Age of Empires 4 gets its time in the spotlight by showing off the trebuchet in a live-action trailer documenting a replica in England. Cloud gaming is coming to Xbox consoles, as previously mentioned in our earlier news stories. For Wasteland 3, a new trailer shows off new content by the name of Cult of the Holy Detonation, coming October 5th. A new Sea of Thieves event is starting today, which awards players with a new Borderlands-themed ship. The ship has the Borderlands logo all over it, and it's red and yellow color scheme. It starts on August 24th and runs through September 7th. A new State of Decay trailer shows off a new expansion called Homecoming, which they consider the third part of the saga. Stray Blade from Point Blank and 505 Games is shown. The third-person action game with a fantasy bent is coming in 2022. Crusaders Kings 3 is shown from Paradox Interactive, now on its way to Xbox. Psychonauts 2 got its launch trailer, because that game is now, at the time of the recording, already out. The Gunk, which was revealed last year from the developers of the Steam World series, gets its first gameplay trailer. No release date, but is launching day one on Game Pass. A news post after did confirm a December release date. A new Forza Horizon inspired controller was shown off. It looks really cool. It has like that yellow and the pinks and the blues, very festival-like, and it's a little bit translucent, so you can actually see through it a bit. It is probably one of the best looking controllers that they have shown off in recent history. That isn't just like a Design Labs one. Really nice. And we also saw a Forza Horizon extended gameplay segment, but nothing like totally groundbreaking coming from that, just kind of more of the same, but a deeper look at the game. And of course, the weird thing was like there was no Halo, but that's what Opening Night Live was for. And other than that, I mean, Microsoft was very upfront about like nothing new will be shown, and that was true. So it wasn't like that interesting of a showcase, to be honest, but we kind of knew going in that it would just be more of the same. And once again, I'm pulling from Fanbyte for this recap. Kicking off with a world premiere of Saints Row, with the trailer for the series reboot finishing with a release date of February 25th, 2022. Next, we saw a new Marvel game titled Midnight Suns, which is coming in March 2022. This is the rumored for Access game from 2K Games, which today got a short narrative CG trailer with full gameplay coming in just a few days on September 1st. Call of Duty Vanguard had a segment where they were like showing off, I think, one of their earlier missions, with that game coming out on November 5th. A Halo Infinite segment starts off with a CG multiplayer narrative trailer. The campaign and multiplayer get an official release date of December 8th. They also revealed the Xbox Elite Wireless Controller Series 2 Halo Infinite Limited Edition, and it's very much like Master Chief style green with little outlines. In Fanbyte's write-up, they wrote, it looks like Master Chief if he were a controller, and that's very, very accurate. I mean, I think it is pretty good looking, but yeah, it looks exactly like that. They also showed off a Halo Limited Edition Series X, and it looks really good. It's super sparkly and spacey at the top, and then it sort of has like about 2/3 of it are like metallic-y, like grays and blacks, but also with like a little bit of like this outline, kind of like paneling. It's quite nice. From Devolver Digital and Massive Monster comes Cult of the Lamb, a roguelite about building your own hellish cult as a cute little lamb. I was really into the art style of this game and the general vibe. It looks adorable. Combat seems challenging. It sort of has like this children's book aesthetic look to it, even in just like the way it's sort of animated. But because it's a roguelite, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go, but I am interested in trying it out. It's just not totally my genre. They have some type of like kind of base mechanic in a sense, because you are like making your own little cult. It looks really interesting. I'm super excited for this one. Midnight Fight Express from Humble Games gets a trailer. Looks like Hotline Miami, but about 100% extra. That's coming summer 2022. And again, that was Fanbyte's sort of editorialization of that trailer. We saw a trailer for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which highlights April O'Neil, who now joins the fight for the first time as a playable character. Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania gets yet another character, this time in the form of Persona 5's Morgana. And this will be DLC joining post-launch. A new infection mode is coming to Splitgate. And Splitgate is sort of like, Halo meets Portal type shooter. We got a trailer for Riders Republic, which has an ongoing beta. This comes after its formerly closed beta, so now that's open on all platforms that the game is being released on. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga finally emerges from its long cryogenic sleep, and now has a launch window of spring 2022. We got a world premiere trailer for Synced Off Planet. This is a companion shooter set in techno-apocalyptic future, in which you will fight together against enemy teams and synchronize with nano companion classes to deploy in combat. We get a new game in the Outlast series called The Outlast Trials. That gets revealed, and it'll be launching sometime in 2022. Dokev, or Dokev, gets shown off. It has a really lengthy trailer. First of all, it looks really gorgeous, but it's a really lengthy trailer, and it's sort of confusing on what the game still is. But the description on the official site reads as follows. Dokev is a creature collecting open world action adventure filled with intriguing stories and set in a unique, vibrant world. Befriend the adorable Dokebi that gains strength from and encourage people's dreams and get ready to embark on an adventure. And it looks like really colorful, really playful. This is one of those things where you either were like, oh my god, I love what this is, or you're just like, I have no idea what this is. I kind of fell in both camps. And weirdly enough, the combat, if that's at least what I'm looking at here, kind of reminded me of like how trailers for Kingdom Hearts looked. I never played Kingdom Hearts, so I don't really know how, like, I don't have a deeper read on that, but that's just what it reminded me of. Yeah, graphically, it looked really, really good, so we'll see how that pans out. We got a trailer for Jurassic World Evolution 2, which has a November 9th release date. Far Cry 6 gets a narrative trailer, and again, that game comes out October 7th. Blood Hunt, a Battle Royale tied to Vampire Masquerades gets another trailer, and that's early access on Steam beginning September 7th. Park Beyond is a park builder with a fantastical element, and that's going to be coming in 2022. We got another look at Jet the Far Shore with a new trailer and a release date of October 5th. Horizon Forbidden West gets an update from Guerrilla saying that the title will not be releasing in 2021. Instead, it will come out February 18th, 2022. But on top of that, there's also an update for Horizon Zero Dawn, which now has a 60 FPS patch on the PlayStation 5. We got another new world trailer. We'll look at Marvel Future Revolution, which launched the day of that presentation of Opening Night Live. It's a new mobile title featuring a bunch of Marvel characters. A new mobile Tales of title is shown called Tales of Luminaria, and the game is currently in development. Fall Guys is getting a new skin in the form of Jungle Book characters. Age of Empires 4 gets a new gameplay trailer, and that game releases on October 28th. Valheim gets an animated trailer, and it's getting its first content update called Hearth and Home, which launches September 16th. We got a gameplay trailer of Aloy from Horizon joining Genshin Impact. And also there's a Genshin concert coming in October. Martial arts action game Sifu finally got a release date, and it's February 22nd. We got another look at the Death Stranding director's cut, highlighting a bunch of new features. Again, that is coming out September 24th. All in all, the presentation was about 2 hours long, and I was a little bit underwhelmed by it. I mean, there are a few things that I was looking forward to from it. I think the most notable one for me would be Cult of the Lamb and Dokev or Dokev or however it is. I mean, I'm interested in that. And obviously, like, you know, there's big news in terms of like having the Halo release date and the Horizon release date. But other than that, it was kind of more of the same. Yeah, I just wasn't really like that excited by it. And I do think 2 hours was kind of long. Like, it sort of got a little bit dull at certain points. But Gamescom usually only yields like a couple interesting tidbits in terms of like really big stories or like releases or dates, so, you know, I feel like it was par for the course. Moving on to game releases and updates, I do want to mention that Bravely Default 2 is coming to PC via Steam, and it is dropping on September 2nd, so definitely check out that game if you haven't been able to, if you don't have a Switch, because I absolutely love it. It is one of my favorite games of the year, so please go play it if you have not already. And lastly, for the Shub and Take My Money section, there's going to be an Animal Crossing Puma collab, and Sneaker Freak was able to reveal the first look, and it is very much in the style of the special edition Animal Crossing Switch, where it's pulling on those sort of off-white pastels, light blues, light greens, and the print seems to be like a little bit of the villagers. It just looks good all around, a little bit suede in some parts. There's some fun detailing even inside of the sneaker where it says like Animal Crossing on the inside. In addition to shoes, there's also some clothes, it seems like there's like a hoodie. And there have just been so many like cool product collabs with Animal Crossing, but also like, where are the updates? Where are the updates? I keep buying like shirts and dresses and makeup and shoes and all this stuff, but where are the updates? I'll pay for the update. Is it money? I'll give you money. And that does it for this week's stories. Thank you so much for watching on youtube.com/Gameonysus. Be sure to like, subscribe, tap the bell, and leave a comment. And for listening on podcast services, be sure to subscribe on the podcast platform of your choice. And if possible, leave a review because it helps the show a whole lot. And as always, a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. You too can join on patreon.com/Gameonysus. We have rewards as low as $1 all the way up to the $25. And as always, I'll see y'all here next time. Bye.